Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's AAK webinar. My name is Brenda Nyawara. I'm an architect and a member of the Architects Chapter Council. We are happy to have each and every one of you here today. The topic for today is mentorship. We're looking at successful strategies in mentorship and being mentored. So the question of mentorship, the sharing of experience, what is mentorship, what is reverse mentorship, where you're sharing knowledge and skills back and forth. Also, we're looking at demystifying mentorship, knowing what it is and how it can help you. AAK also runs a mentorship program, which you can plug into and participate in as a mentee and as a mentor. And we're also looking at the challenge that different generations face when looking at mentorship in a professional setting. Also, what is a mentor and mentee relationship? What kind of structure is needed? What are the lines of communication and what are the benefits of mentorship? But before I introduce the speakers, I'd like to inform you that you can ask your questions in the comment section or via the Q&A tab. We'd like to hear your voice and your experience also. Just some housekeeping rules. Be sure to introduce yourself before you post your comment. Should you want to ask your question verbally, make sure you speak clearly and indicate that you have finished. Keep the discussion respectful, mute when not speaking, and also you can use the chat feature to raise up your hand when you want to ask your questions. So I will go on to introduce the speakers for today. I'd like to request them to turn on their video so you can see them as I introduce them. So our main speaker for today is Mary Kamore. She's a lead consultant at Emolives Mentoring. Mary is a trained certified business mentor and a founding member of the Professional Business Mentors Association of Kenya. She has over 15 years of experience in institutional development and mentoring. She also is specialized in coaching, training, capacity building, business advisory, and services. She has an MBA in strategic management from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. She has a BA degree in economics from Egerton University and a number of postgraduate qualifications. Welcome, Mary. Also participating in this webinar from the perspective of a mentor is architect Mugure Njendu, president of AAK. She holds a Bachelor of Architecture degree and a Master of Architecture degree in Town and Suburb Planning. She has served as a member of the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors of Kenya, and currently is a member of the Board of Practice and Ethics at Borax. She is also chair of Board of Practice and Ethics at the East Africa Institute of Architects. She's a founding member of the Women in Real Estate Kenya. She's also a member of the Kenya Institute of Planners and Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. Welcome, Madam President. We also have QS, welcome. We also have QS Daniel Kimoro, Chair of the AAK College of Fellows. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Building Economics from the University of Nairobi and a Master of Science in Construction Management from University of Reading in the UK. He's a registered quantity surveyor with the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors and has previously served in the board too. He is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration and a past chairman of the QS chapter of AAK, has also been at the helm of Africa Association of Quantity Surveyors as vice president and president also. Welcome, QS, Daniel.
Thank you.
All right, to start us, thank you so much, QS. So to start us off, we'll have opening remarks by QS Daniel Kimoro, as I mentioned, Chair of College of Fellows AAK. Welcome.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Brenda, for that introduction. And it's a pleasure to be able to be with you this afternoon, and especially on the topic of mentorship, which is a topic which has been behind our minds as the College of Fellows. Indeed, the College of Fellows has been very keen on offering mentorship to students at universities and various institutions of higher learning. And of course, the purpose is to demystify the professions in the building industry, because you realize that a lot of students, when they're at university, they have not quite understood the industry, and they would like to learn more of what's happening out in the field. Now, we need to understand that the societies which mentor their young will always regenerate themselves, because mentoring is really a way of regenerating, since that helps build on knowledge, pass on from one generation to another. And of course, mentorship also dissipates fear and enables the mentees to dare further. And I believe that's the whole purpose, so they can dare further and probably do more than the mentor. Sometimes I look at it in terms of my experiences over the years, and I see sometimes the reasons for failure in businesses has not been because of lack of skills or lack of resources, but I think for a bigger chunk, it's really a lack of good mentorship. And I'll ask, if you were two people, and then if you were asked to walk, through a minefield, could you wish you were the first or the second? And that's really the question. And when I look at it, a mentor is somebody who's already walked through that minefield. So he'll probably be the first to walk through. He's already walked through. So the mentee then will now, follow the steps of which areas to step and follow. But what is most important is that mentoring must be done productively. It's important that it's done productively, because that's then when it adds really real value to what is being imparted. Now, I was very glad, and in fact, I wish to thank you, Madam President, for the initiative from the AAK, especially during the Meet the Fellows campaign. And what has come out of that is that now members have the opportunity to share their experience in the industry. I know I've done that, and in fact, the gentleman who was interviewing me was very keen. He actually wanted to be a mentee, which I accepted. And I told him, look, I have no problem, engaging whenever you have time, you can approach. The biggest fear sometimes is the mentees do not know how to approach fellows. Yeah, and they feel, this person, they're too senior for me. No, we're just ordinary people like you. You can approach us anytime. Just engage some time, and now with Zoom and everything, it's easy to engage with somebody, especially if something is disturbing in a particular area, so that you are able to, get a bit more in terms of what's happening. So, Madam President, I'm very happy about the campaign of Meet the Fellows, and I'm hoping that a lot of mentees can actually go into the YouTube and see some of the recordings that have been done, because they will pick quite a bit of knowledge from that. So I hope going forward that will be something that will be enhanced, even through maybe the institutions, so that there can be more mentoring within our fraternity, the built environment. Of course, through experiences, some of the things that we've seen is that there's been a tendency, and there's been complaints in terms of caliber of productivity in the industry. We came from an industry. I remember in my younger days, I could, even as a QS, measure things like plumbing and electrical, and we used to have isometric drawings, things we don't see anymore. So I think what is important for mentees is to learn that there's usually no option for hard work. Hard work is a must, and our profession is never a microwave profession. This time must be put in order for you to have a good product. So it's important that there's a lot more patience, a lot more willing to learn in our profession, so that we can move further. I know I had only 10 minutes. I don't know how many more minutes I have, but I hope that with that introduction, we have given some cues so that we can encourage our mentees, and also as mentors, just to say that the College of Fellows, we're open to be able to support where we can. And it's really it's a keen thing that we want to drive. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you so much, QS Daniel, for the remarks. I like the analogy of the industry being a minefield where your mentors have gone before you, and so it's easier for those coming in after to practice in the industry. Thank you so much for those remarks. Next, we're going into a session, a chat about mentorship between myself and the president, Mugure Njendu. Just to give you a brief intro, myself and 4 other graduates and students of architecture have taken part in a mentorship program that lasted for a year between 2018 and 2019. And even after that, she has taken us under her wings. She has guided us in our career projections. And so we're just giving you a highlight of what a mentee-mentor relationship is. So welcome, Madam President. Our session is in form of Q&A, and I do have some questions for you, as I know that you also have some for me. And I'd like to just proceed to the first question to you. What was the motivation behind choosing mentorship as one of the main goals you wanted to achieve in association?
Thank you, Brenda. So firstly, just to say that, as you mentioned, I undertook that particular mentorship session with yourself and the other 4 ladies in a very sort of intentional way. And the reason that I felt the need to do so was particularly because I have been mentored in my past, and I've been mentored in various stages of my life by different people. And to date, I think that I would not be sitting particularly on this chair speaking on this platform if it wasn't for a number of those experiences that I've had and lessons that I've learned from my own mentors. So for me, it was really a matter of having myself understood the importance of mentorship in my own life path. I felt it was very important to pay it forward. And hence, that's why I undertook a very sort of intentional journey with yourself and the other young ladies.
Thank you so much for that. The keyword intentional, mentorship being intentional. The second question I have for you, how has mentorship changed from when you were a student or graduate to now where you're in a position where you are the one who is mentoring other students and graduates? How has it changed, or how has it developed?
So when I was thinking about this, one of the things that seemed really, really clear to me is that I feel like there are more opportunities for mentorship today. And as there are more opportunities for mentorship, I also feel like there's also more representation. That is, for example, for yourself as a young woman in architecture, when you listen to, for example, one of the fellows, Dr. Susan Kibwe, who gave her experience in architecture school when she was one of the only female students. Right now, if a young lady wanted a female mentor, she can find one. If you want a mentor who has had an experience similar to yours, and maybe you went to the same high school, you're more likely to find that person. And it could be just simple things like now we have more access to information, we can network and find each other better. So I think there's really a good opportunity now because of access to information, as well as more representation, to be able to find mentors and to be able to find mentors who are most suitable for you. I also do want to caution, however, one of the things I feel like over time has happened because we have so much access to information, and this information is literally at our fingertips. There's been maybe a sense that you don't need the one-on-one or interaction that you would get with a mentor in sort of a one-on-one interaction. I'd caution that access to information is a good thing, but again, it can also be a bad thing. When do we stop and look for one-on-one engagements and hear actual experiences from another person who may have walked your path? as the chair of the College of the Fellows mentioned, who has been through the same minefield as you have been, that information will not be readily available by doing a Google search. So I would definitely say that as much as there's a lot of access to information and more representation, that because of that access to information, it may feel like you don't need a mentor, but I'd pull back to there's no replacement for that one-on-one interaction with another mentor. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. There's no replacement with the one-on-ones. You have to have that kind of interaction that is one-on-one, that it's not just from you Googling something or reading something. So
Absolutely.
my third question, yes. My third question for you, is there such a thing as positive or negative mentorship? And is there a way that mentorship can be better structured towards positive impact in practice?
Absolutely, Brenda. I think like any other experience in life, you can have a negative experience or you can have a positive experience. It's same with education, employment, life, and the decisions you make in life. There are negative mentorships and there are positive mentorships. I think maybe let me start with the negative. And I think some of the challenges, and I think Mary will touch on this when she takes us through the challenges to do with mentorship, can be simple things as, for example, the mentor that you are engaging with, perhaps they're not as accessible as you'd like them to be in terms of engaging with you, or maybe personality-wise, you do not click off personality-wise and it doesn't work out, or something as simple as expectations. Are the expectations of the mentor and the expectations of the mentee very clear along the way? I think one of the things that I felt was very valuable when I was engaging with you, Brenda, and the other young ladies was really, we set out our expectations very early on, where I said, this is what we are going to do in the next year. This is what I expect as a mentor. This is, and yourselves also, you came forward and told me what you would like to achieve as mentees. So the expectations were very clear on both sides right at the beginning. So there was no ambiguity in the process of mentorship. And I felt that really helped to basically deal with misunderstandings that may occur because of ambiguity. And then there are scenarios, and I think it's important to mention it, the scenarios of mentorship which are just completely toxic and unhealthy, where a mentee maybe just doesn't show up or doesn't appreciate the time that is being put into the mentorship relationship, or doesn't really value the input that a mentor will be giving them. And of course, on the mentor side, because of the power dynamics of somebody who has been through more experiences than you, could misuse a mentee in terms of using them for the wrong things, whether it's work or whether it's even just being inappropriate with them. So I think those are the negative aspects of the mentor-mentee relationship. And in our AAK sort of mentorship guidelines, we do strive to lay out what we expect for the mentor-mentee relationship. But of course, at the end of the day, it does lie on the two individuals who are in that particular exercise. But we do expect, as professionals, as built environment professionals, that we go above and beyond towards giving the best that we can and paying it forward. On the positive side of things, and again, I think I could speak all day about the positive part of the mentor-mentee relationship. For me, I think, firstly, the fundamentals to ensure that the experience is positive from the mentor side is really, one, I used this word before, intentional. Be intentional about your mentorship. Two is to be accountable to each other, touch base with each other. If your mentee goes underground, try and find them. If your mentor goes underground, touch base with them and find out what's going on. And the third, I would say, is really be ethical. Don't treat somebody how excuse me, don't treat somebody how you would not want to be treated, fundamentally, as in, it's all about relationships, and a mentor-mentee relationship is really about be ethical with each other, be kind. There's no replacement for that. So I would say be intentional, be accountable, and be ethical. The last thing I will say from now, my personal experience on mentorship, Brenda, is that I actually learned more than I thought I would in the process. I always say this when I talk about my mentorship journey, is that I got to know these young ladies who were phenomenal in their own right. And I would look at them and think, I don't think I was doing those things when I was that age. And literally in the process of mentoring these young ladies, I also learned a few things about myself along the way. So the value is really both ways for the mentor and the mentee, and it is absolutely irreplaceable. So I completely encourage everyone on this call, if you don't know about the AAK mentorship program, please reach out to us, Christine at aak.or.ke. She can send you the guidelines. She can match you with a mentor, match you with a mentee. The process is worth it. So Brenda, over to you, and I'm ready to ask you my questions as well.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I'm sure we've all learned so many, not just one or two things, so many things from what she has just told us today about mentorship and from her own experience. These are things that you would not find floating somewhere in the webs. It's actually personal lessons that she's learned and she's sharing with us today. So I will allow you to ask me questions.
Okay, are you ready for hard ones?
Yes, I'm ready for the hard one.
All right, great. So Brenda, firstly, I must appreciate you for coming on board as one of my mentees, and really coming into that journey well, and just wanting to do the work. To show up, to be part of something that I hope has been valuable to you. So I think my question should be starting there, right at the beginning. So why did you kind of just volunteer for this mentorship program? I think by that time we had run into each other a few times, but we know each other well. You know, I could have been just I'm a very difficult person to deal with, but you volunteered and showed up and said, I'm going to be a mentee. What made you do that?
Okay, so me looking at being mentored has always been something I've wanted, because I've had mentors throughout my life, before architecture school, during architecture school, even after in my workplace. Every day is a learning opportunity. And so I had always admired professionals whom I got to interact with in AAK and other platforms. And so looking at that opportunity that came when you posted a call for, hey, who wants to be mentored? I was like, oh, okay, let me step up, let me tap into whatever we can achieve from there. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew that I was a fresh graduate who was looking for opportunities out there, and whatever it was, I wanted to tap into it. So that's just how I volunteered to be one of your mentees.
Great. I hope there are no regrets, but if there are regrets, let's talk about them after. So the next question would be really what for everybody who's listening on this call and maybe would like to be a mentee, has listened to what the chair of the College of Fellows has said, is listening to us, is going to listen to Mary, as somebody who has actually experienced mentorship in the built environment. What key advice would you give them to get the best out of that as a mentee, get the best out of that relationship?
I would tell any mentee to be teachable, to be like a sponge, take in what you're given and also sieve through it to see what works for you. You can't replicate your mentor. You can never be someone else. So take in the lessons, take in also the regrets, the mistakes. Also what Madam President had mentioned, maintain confidentiality and professionalism in your discussions. Make time and effort. It's also your responsibility to make sure that the mentorship works for you and for your mentor also. So it means you respect your mentor's time and effort. Also, you also have to reach out as a mentee. Sometimes professionals are just waiting for you to take the first step, because it's up to you to want to be mentored, to want to be taught. Also, don't forget, as a mentee, once you've learned, you've been nurtured, you've been given opportunities, make sure you pay it forward. Look out for those behind you also. Make sure you reach out to them and pass on the skills that you have been given as a mentee. Yeah, I think that's what I would tell any mentor, any mentee who wants to be mentored. Over to you.
Thank you. Wow, thank you, Brenda. I think there's something that you said that I think I had not addressed, which I feel is important. You said something about being professional and also being confidential. And I really feel, at least for our sessions, I felt like some of the sessions actually did get personal, where we go into some personal information that explains why we are where we are. And I feel like some of those sessions were very valuable in understanding you or understanding one of the other young ladies. But as a mentor, really to understand confidentiality is important. This person is trusting you with their life story, with their professional story, personal story, and they're really trusting you with that information to guide them. The other thing is sieving, which is really important, sieving the information. Thank you, Brenda, for those comments. I think they've been really, really enlightening. I think my other question would really from your experience now that you've been a mentee, do you feel like you'll be better prepared to be a mentor as well?
Most definitely. I think I'm now equipped with the knowledge of how a structure of a professional mentor-mentee relationship is. At least I know what to look for when I'm trying to reach out to a younger professional also. Myself, I'm open to graduates and students who approach me for advice wherever we meet at. And also, I'm now intentional on reaching out and actually working with the number of mentees I've chosen to work with. Also, I'm inspired to pass down the skills I've learned because it was a privilege and an honor to be given such skills. Someone took their time out of their busy schedule to teach me, to listen to what my ambitions are and to show me how to get there professionally. So I'm also willing to put in that time to help someone else kind of catapult from where they are to where they'd want to be in their career. So I hope you have no other questions for me.
Maybe just as a parting shot, the only thing I do want to add is I feel that our journey was very good. Of course, it had its ups and downs where maybe as a mentor, I know sometimes I was difficult to reach for a sit down, and it does have its ups and downs. But I do want to say, from my perspective, I don't think that the mentorship journey ever ends. Which is why, for example, for me, I have really enjoyed listening to the College of Fellows and the experiences that they've had. Even today, during this session, I'm here as a mentor, but I am also a mentee in another session, just to encourage that there's always room for learning. And that for me is really the lesson in mentorship. So thank you, Brenda, for the questions and for the opportunity to chat about this.
And thank you to you too, Madam President, for allowing us to also come in and bring in our lessons to this chat. I would like to cue in our presenter for today, Mary Kamore. Having listened to our discussions, I'm sure you have a lot more to contribute to this discussion. So as I mentioned earlier, Mary Kamore is a lead consultant at Emolive's Mentoring, and she's an expert in business mentoring. So we're looking forward to also learn very new things from her today. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. Thank you. I was actually waiting to hear more of your experience with Madam President Mugure. It's a very interesting experience that you have shared, and a very learning moment for everyone, especially for all of us here who I know have an interest in mentoring in one way or the other. And so as I listened, I was learning. I was actually even noting down a few things. That mentoring is a process. That was very powerful. That as a mentee, you need to be like a sponge that is learning and ready and always to learn. Ladies and gentlemen and the members of AAK and also non-members, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to be speaking to you on this very important topic of mentorship. And I believe that in the next very few minutes, we will be able to learn together on what is mentoring all about. What is mentoring all about? I was thinking about this particular association, and I was thinking what a noble association it is. And a very interesting thought came to my mind, that this association has professionals who are very valuable to human lives, because I know AAK is an association of quantity surveyors, architects, planners, engineers, and many others. And I thought about human lives. How do we live? We live in buildings. We work in buildings. We sleep in buildings. We walk on roads. We drive on roads. We fly and have to make use of our airports as we do that. And this association talks about quality standards controls and regulations of all that. And I was thinking, this is an association where human lives depend on it. The structure in which we live is controlled within this association. And last week, I happened to listen towards the end of the talk, and I heard something profound that was said by some two people. One was Architect Waweru, and the other one was Planner Gatimu, if I'm not wrong. And I remember the parting shot from Architect Waweru was, let us practice what we preach. After having said a number of things, he called upon the professionals in this field to practice what they preach. And then Planagatimu, that was, I think it was part of his introduction, where he said, what happened to the beautiful city under the sun, which is Nairobi? Is it beautiful anymore? What happened to the cleanest city in East Africa, I think, which is Nakuru? Is it the cleanest city anymore? And all this, I was asking myself, what exactly are they speaking about? Because it's a very common question that we would ask ourselves. It's about values. It's about integrity. It's about passing on. Have we been able to sustain the good things that we uphold? Have we been able to pass them on to other generations, to the young ones? And the question of what happened to what used to be good, it's no longer good anymore. And the question of let's practice what we preach, it's a question of, are we really living out those values? And are we passing them on so that they can be lived out by others? And I thought, possibly not. We are in times when we hold a lot of what we know, the skills, the knowledge, the values to ourselves. And unfortunately, we hold them to ourselves. And when our time comes to leave this world or to leave this planet Earth, we go away with that. We go away with all the knowledge, with all the experiences, with all what we uphold and value, because we never passed it on to other people. We never passed it on through mentorship. And so this brings me to what I want to make as our clarion call this particular afternoon, where I want to say, we don't need to leave this planet with what we know. We need to leave this planet with all the knowledge, all the values, all the skills that we have amassed over time. But I want to call upon us to desire to die empty. When our time comes to leave this earth, to leave this world, could we desire to die empty, where we have shared what we know, shared our values, passed it on to the younger ones, passed it on for others to continue doing what needs to be done. So I'll be talking about 5 parts of mentorship in this journey of mentoring. I'll have a very brief overview of mentorship, and then I'll talk about pillars that support mentorship. I'll talk about how you can give feedback that can be heard, because that's it's very common that feedback can fail to be heard. I will also talk about mentorship pitfalls, and I will talk about how would we make mentoring work. How do we make mentoring work? As I talk about mentoring overview, it's good to possibly ask ourselves what is the origin of this mentorship thing. And I will talk about this, a mythical, a Greek mythology that is called Odyssey. It was a story, could be true, could be not, but it's a myth. And Odyssey is from the name of a king called Odysseus. This king needed to leave his country to go to another country for a military operation. And he had a young son. And so he, instead of leaving the son under no other man's care, he left the son under the care of his friend called Mentor. And so this king left, and he was away in a far country. And he was away for many years. He was away for 20 years. By the time he was coming back to his son, the son was already old. He was already a man. And his friend Mentor, who acted like a surrogate father to the son, he was able to take the son through the skills, through the values, through the culture of manhood, all through those years. Now, stories or even myths, they have a lesson. They usually have the moral or what we need to learn from it. And what we learn from this story is what really mentoring is. It is about passing on values. It's about making someone a better person. It's about growing somebody. And this is what we find in this story. But that is not the only way we get to hear about mentorship. In the Middle Age, there was a lot of mentorship that was happening. We had the crafts guild, which are similar to the associations that we have today. And the crafts guilds, the young men used to be apprenticed to master craftsmen in various professionals like merchandise, like law, like smithing. And the relationship between the masters and the apprentice could be termed as mentoring, where they could learn skills and learn to become better in those professions. And we still see a lot of it later in industrial age, the employer-employee relationships. Again, a lot of employer working alongside their employees. And as times have continued, we've seen informal mentorships in professions, in families, in organizations, and they have guided the way skills are passed on. They have also advanced careers through those informal mentorships. They've even enhanced lives in one way or the other. So mentorship has been happening, although not really within a formal platform. But every person would requires to master skills on how to go through the sophisticated and rapidly changing world, and especially the changing job market. And the mentorship skills becomes even more important as we get into this complex, this very personal nature of our world, where people are more personal, where the relationships are becoming more complex, where people are not relating as they used to be. And the need to relate, the need to be deliberate in getting support through mentorship has been more important now than ever before. So what is mentoring? To mentor, I would pick this definition, which I have loved. It covers what I would term mentorship. It is to support and encourage people to manage their own learning in order that they may maximize their potential, develop their skills, improve their performance, and become the person they want to be. And I would want us to highlight the term to support and to encourage, because a mentoring journey is a journey where a mentee gets support, is encouraged, and helped to manage their learning. In the relationship of mentorship, we don't assume that the person being mentored does not know. But we know this person has their own knowledge. They have their own understanding in their own rights. They have their own experiences. And a mentor comes in to support, to encourage this person so that they can be able to manage what they know, so that they can be able to maximize their potential and develop the skills, improve their performance, whether it's performance at work, career performance, whether it is performance in their personal areas of growth, but to help them to improve on their performance. And so mentoring is sharing knowledge, skills, and life experiences to guide another towards reaching their full potential. And it's very hard to mentor unless you are ready to share knowledge, to share skills, and even to share life experiences. It is therefore a supportive relationship which is positive. If it is not supportive, and the president said earlier, there can be negative and positive mentoring. So if this relationship is not supporting someone to get better, then possibly it's not mentoring. If it is not leading towards positive growth for this person, then possibly that is not mentoring. Through mentorship, the mentee becomes more self-aware, taking responsibility of their life and not leaving it to chance. Again, I liked what Brenda said in her sharing, that she realized she wants to learn from others. She admired those who have walked before her, and she could see that these are people she would want to be like. And so she looked for a mentor. So you become more self-aware. You take responsibility of your own life. A mentor is a guide who helps, supports, and encourages a mentee to find direction and develop solutions to their issues. A mentor also helps the mentee to believe in herself or himself and boosts his or her confidence. Sometimes that's all the mentee requires, just someone to help them boost their confidence. Not any additional knowledge, not even additional skills, just for them to be confident in who they are and what they have and what they know. The mentor also asks questions and challenge the person while providing guidance and encouragement. So that's what a mentor will do. But who is a mentee? We possibly may want to ask ourselves, who is a mentee? A mentee is one who seeks a relationship with a mentor. And a mentee may have an interest or may have a need to develop an untapped potential. They may have a need to learn from a professional. And in this case, this platform of AAK is where we would imagine that we can have as many young ones learn from professionals here. They may be looking for solutions to challenges. It's very hard that a mentoring relationship will only address one aspect of a person, because a human being is a whole being. And so even when their professional area is what requires development, you'll realize that along your journey of mentorship, their personal aspect comes in. If they have a family, possibly their family aspects comes in and other areas of their lives. And so they may be looking for such solutions. They may be looking for career, personal growth, or personal growth. They may also be looking for career or life transition, or they may be going through career or life transition. So all those are things that a mentee could be looking for. But this mentee is seeking for a relationship, or is seeking for this relationship that will help them walk through this journey of growth. How will a mentor benefit and how will a mentee benefit? There are many, many benefits of mentorship. And those who are present when Madam President Mugore and Breda were sharing their story, you possibly were able to pick quite many advantages that comes out of a mentoring relationship. But for a mentee, you realize that they get advice and encouragement, impartial advice from someone who is just willing to help and walk alongside them. They are assisted with the problem solving. They get a supportive relationship. They improve on their confidence, and they are able to get career development or career growth, or even business growth if they're in business. For a mentor, it enhances your satisfaction, professional satisfaction. There is nothing as good, and I said we all desire to die empty, as passing on something to someone else. What you know, your knowledge, your skills, your experiences, passing them on to someone else. That is usually very, very satisfying to an individual. You develop professional relationships because you are able to interact and to network with others who are possibly doing the same. And you get to learn. And along the mentoring journey, you get to learn even more than you would have imagined. I think Mogora said that she actually realized, understood herself more, learned more that she had even thought she would learn in the relationship. And that is exactly what happens in a mentoring relationship. You realize there is more to learn about yourself and about other people. You become a better communicator, better at interpersonal relationships, better at understanding various aspects that you want to support other people in. Of course, it enhances recognition among your peers because you are putting your standards at a level where you don't just want to live, but you also want to pass on as part of yourself to others. It enables you to practice interpersonal skills. It provides satisfaction through supporting the development of others. I say again, this is very, very fulfilling. Supporting other people through mentoring, it's usually very, very fulfilling. I'll go to the next component, the mentoring pillars. Every house needs to be supported by strong pillars. And this house of mentoring needs to be supported. Otherwise, it will come crumbling down because it wouldn't start strong if it is not supported by very key pillars. I'll mention just a few. Respect. Respect is very important in a mentoring relationship. If both the mentor and the mentee don't respect one another, the relationship is not likely to last long. This is where the mentor doesn't treat the mentee as a less of a human being, but the mentor appreciates that the mentee is a person who has their own understanding, their own knowledge, their own skills. And the mentee, likewise, they don't disrespect their mentor, but they treat them with respect and they value them, they respect their time and their commitment to the relationship. Number two is communication. Communication and very open communication is very important in a mentoring relationship, where people don't assume things. They don't assume I said it, or they don't assume they will figure out what I'm trying to say. But communication and very open communication and clear communication, I'll be talking about feedback shortly, is very, very important. Whether it's written communication, whether it is spoken communication, all that is very, very important. Most of the mentoring relationships could be one-on-one, they could also be group mentoring, but the way people communicate with one another tells a lot how people also trust each other in a mentoring relationship. Honesty and transparency. I cannot overemphasize this, that it's very hard to work together in a mentoring journey if there is no transparency. If the mentor is not willing to share their lives or not willing even to share some of their experiences with this mentee and be very honest about some of their experiences, because we only learn when we realize that other people are also human beings, that people are also vulnerable. And that is also how we get to pass on skills and experiences to other people. Trust and confidentiality. And I like that. And it was mentioned by Mugore and Breda when they were talking, that confidentiality is important. Many times in a mentoring relationship, people will share their lives, their personal lives, their sensitive matters to their mentor because they trust you. Keeping that confidential is very important, and it builds on trust. Time commitment, mentoring takes time. It requires time because it's not a hit and go. It's not a quick fix. It is something that will require you to sit with your mentor. It is something that will require you to give an extra hour to your day-to-day time or to your day-to-day activities so that you can be able to talk, engage, listen, and hear your mentee. And also the mentee will require time to be able to get feedback and act on that feedback. So it requires time commitment. Ethics and professionalism. This was very well put by our dear ladies, Mugore and Breda, when they were sharing. There has to be ethics. There has to be professionalism in a mentoring relationship. And finally, active listening and being able to share your own experiences. I say it again, when you share your experiences as a mentor or even a mentee, the other person is able to relate closely with you. It builds a rapport with your mentee or with your mentor. So that's also very, very important. Those are 6, but they can be more. Those are 7, but they could be more when we come to talk, when it comes to talking about mentoring pillars. How can your feedback be heard? Many times we assume we have been heard, but we haven't been heard. Or many times we wish someone can hear us, but they can't hear us. So how can you ensure that in a relationship, in a mentoring relationship, you can be heard? I will highlight some skills that you require for you to give feedback that can be heard. One is being good at observing. It's very important that as a mentor, you can be able to observe your mentee as they are talking, as they're doing their things, and be able to figure out a few things about what could be going on in their lives. That's a skill. You need questioning skills. You need to be good at how you question, because questioning helps someone to reflect on their own lives and on their own actions. Sometimes, and especially in a mentoring relationship, you don't question because you want an answer. You want a yes or a no. Sometimes you question because you want to help the other person have a different view or a different perspective on a matter. You also need to be having active listening skills where you can listen. And I will mention briefly about listening and about questioning skills. I will elaborate that further. So when you can observe and question and listen keenly, then you can be able to give feedback. But you also need to know how to communicate that feedback, because that is the way you'll be able to build and maintain your relationship with your mentee, and the same case with your mentor as a mentee. I'm sure you may have come across a questioning framework, the funnel technique questioning framework, which helps you to listen, because you wouldn't want to jump into helping the mentee have an answer for their solution, for their problem. We say in a mentoring relationship, you don't quickly fix someone's problem. You don't provide a solution. You want to work with your mentee to leading them to a place where they can actually identify the solution themselves. And so walking through this journey can be done through questioning, where you start with open questions and finally you take them to the point where they have understood what exactly they want, what direction they want to go, what actions they need to take. Very, very important that you don't just ask questions, but you ask questions that are deliberate. And I've given a few examples of the questions. Tell me how you went about it. That is an open question. What was your starting point? You are probing. What happened next? Again, you are probing until you get to the point where you are asking, let me see if I followed you, where you are checking that the mentee is actually aware of what needs to be done. Questioning is very powerful. What about listening? You may find yourself missing out on critical information if you are talking more than listening as a mentor, if you're suggesting solutions even before the mentee finishes what they are saying, if you're thinking about what you want to say next, if your body language signals impatience, maybe you're distracted, you're checking on your phone calls, you're leaning back on your, and all those, there could be others, but those are just a few. And some of them may not necessarily mean you're not listening, but they could be just a signal, saying what you'd have done differently in the same situation. This is not wrong to do. However, it can make the person, if it comes at the wrong time, it would make the person feel they have to actually do just what you have done. And remember, the mentee doesn't have to be a replica of who you are, because you don't want another you. You want them to be who they are and who they should be. Active listening requires you to ask open-ended questions, request for clarification, and that is for both the mentor and the mentee. Be attentive, summarize just to be sure that you understand, even paraphrase, so that you can be able to know whether you actually got it right. Reflect on feelings. It's very good to capture what is behind what the mentee or what the mentor is saying. Be attuned to them and then ask questions that are probing, just to help you understand and be able to lead the mentee better. I will go to pitfalls and I'll highlight just a few. So watch out for these mentoring pitfalls. One is unclear expectations. It's very important that expectations are clarified right on the onset. If they're not clarified, then it would lead to where the mentoring relationship will not work. Number two, giving conflicting advice. If you're not very sure of what answer to give or where to guide, how to guide your mentee, or what response you would have for any situation that the mentee is having, it's important that you even don't communicate it then. Possibly tell the mentee to give you time, or ask to give at each other time to go and find out more, but not to give conflicting advice, because conflicting advice can lead to where the mentee or the mentor does not trust you. The other one is not understanding the legal and ethical aspects of a mentoring relationship, because there are usually the legal implications of a mentoring relationship, depending. I know, for example, in this, it's guided by the AAK Mentors Guide. I think there's a Mentors Guideline for AAK. And other mentoring structures have a guide, or they have contracts that possibly, the agreements that the mentee and the mentor sign. It's important that that is understood, so that you also know if there are legal implications, what actions should be taken in case it gets there. So it's important that that also is understood. The other one is micromanaging, where it's good to avoid any micromanaging, trying to make the other person be like you, because the other person just need to be themselves. They need to grow in their own rights. They need to develop their own personality. So don't let them be like yourself, but rather help them to become the best that they can become. Having the wrong mentee, this is possible. It is possible to have the wrong person to mentor, or even to have the wrong person as a mentor. And it's important that right at the start, or even before it goes too long, you ask yourself, are we actually the right persons for one another? Is this the right relationship? And not because the mentee has a problem, not because the mentor has a problem, but sometimes the chemistry will just fail to work. And if it doesn't, then it's important that you don't push it further if it is not working. So if you realize you're not having the right person as a mentor or as a mentee, then it's also good to bring it to a closure. And it's good to seek even help from the ones who are either supporting the program, or if it was a self-driven engagement, it's good then to sit back and go back to the drawing board and say, do we stop this or do we continue? So those are just 5 of them. And again, there could be more than that, more pitfalls than that. Where there's lack of trust, of course, it will not work. Where there's lack of confidentiality, that's another pitfall. Where there's lack of honesty, it's another pitfall. So there are many, many, many pitfalls that can arise in a mentoring relationship. Now, on clarifying expectations, some of the expectations that we should have, or that should be there when it comes to the mentee, is that the mentee has a desire to grow and to develop. The mentee is flexible and has a positive attitude. And like Brenda said, is like a sponge, willing to learn. Is responsive to new ideas and to feedback. Is available for mentoring. Remember, we talked about time commitment. Is open-minded and is also self-disciplined. They don't have to be followed around by their mentor, but they're self-disciplined, they're self-driven, they're proactive in their own way. Then the mentor, it's upon the mentor to make sure they maintain confidentiality. They are active listeners. They listen, and we've just talked about listening. They are accessible by the mentee, and they have the ability to see potential in a mentee. And they promote responsible decision-making, as well as motivate and support the mentee to achieve their goals. So those are just, again, some of the expectations, both for the mentee and both for the mentor. And I said, one of the pitfalls could be if we do not clarify expectations. How do we make it work? This is the very last part that I'm talking about. How do we make it work between a mentor and a mentee? Prepare. For each of them, both the mentor and the mentee, prepare for the meeting. Don't just wake up and get into a meeting with your mentee as if you're maybe going for a coffee date or just to hang out. Prepare so that you know what you're going to talk about when you meet, so that you know what is the objective of today's meeting, what is the agenda of the meeting. Number 2, build rapport. In the very first sitting, it's important to build a rapport. Why? Because you want the mentee to be at ease interacting with you. You also want the mentor, as a mentor, you want to be at ease interacting with the mentee, and you want to develop a relationship, because mentoring is a relationship. And how do you do that? You could start by sharing your own life, sharing your values, sharing your life journey, and even just appreciating, why are you together? Why did you choose me? Or how did I choose you? Those are very important questions to ask yourselves. And like Mugura was asking Brenda, how did you end up with me as a mentor? I think those are very important, just to see what is common, what interests do you have that are aligning in one way or the other? What is it that made you led to this mentor's fit? So building that rapport right on the onset, sharing your life, is very important. Set objectives. Again, objectives are set at the beginning of a mentoring relationship. You don't wait for the first, second, and third meeting to set objectives. So do it in the first meeting so that it is clear what is this mentoring relationship about. Because if again it's not clear and it's just ambiguous, it becomes very difficult to continue. So setting objective makes it work from the word go. Agree on ground rules. What times do we meet? When do we meet? Where do we meet? How long our meetings will be? How do we communicate? What principles are guiding this relationship? So it's very important to agree on ground rules. And this is also when you agree on the expectations. Challenge your assumptions. And this is very important because our assumptions guide our thinking, and they also inform what we conclude about the other person. And sometimes, and in Kenya, we are sometimes very good at assumptions. An assumption could hinder your relationship with your mentee or with your mentor. Because if you are thinking, if you are assuming about this and the other about a person, then it definitely informs the way you treat that person, the way you conclude about their situation. And so it's important to challenge those assumptions and say, how can I reframe my mind so that I don't go with assumptions, but I clarify and be clear on what I expect or on what this relationship is all about. In conclusion, mentorship, and this is someone called Soren who described a helping relationship. And this is what he said. Mentorship is not merely advice. It is a bilateral commitment between two people based upon mutual trust and a commitment. The commitment of the mentor is to provide advice and help to the mentee with the mentee's best interests in mind. The commitment of the mentee is to be ready to listen to the advice and take the help and act on it. The currency of the mentor or the mentee is personal satisfaction and shared accomplishment. Why I like this definition of what mentorship is the highlighted points, the ones I have highlighted, that it is a bilateral commitment. It must be based on mutual trust. There must be commitment. And the mentor commits to provide advice and help. But the mentee must also commit to listen to the advice and to take the help and act upon it, because the mentor cannot act on that help. It is upon the mentee to take that responsibility, take that advice and act on the help. But what is the currency? You can't pay a mentor. I know from experience, it's very hard to pay a mentor their worth. And sometimes I associate mentoring with teaching. Well, I know we pay our teachers, but there's always a lot of dissatisfaction and always saying, are they paid enough? Are they not paid enough? And we see a lot of protests and strikes sometimes coming from that side of profession. And I have told myself many times, I think it's very hard to pay a teacher, because what a teacher does, hardly can that be paid by just tokens of what maybe is given through our payroll system and so forth. A mentor is almost a similar thing, that what you could get, even if you get yourself in a paid mentoring program, I have been in such before, even if you find yourself in such, it cannot pay your commitment, your time, and your love to pass on either values or knowledge to another person. So the currency is personal satisfaction and shared accomplishment. Personal satisfaction and shared accomplishment. As a mentor, you can only transform lives if you invest in your personal development and learning, that you are always continually learning so that there's something to share to other people, something to pass on to the next generation. You identify that you cannot do it alone. That is, for you to transform or to be a transformational mentor, you need to identify that you can't do it alone. You need other team of mentors to work together. You also need to be mentored as a mentor, so that as you're mentoring others, you're also mentored. And those who are being mentored, they're also mentoring others. You create an enabling environment for your mentee especially, and vice versa. And also you support other people who are in this mentoring journey. Finally, in mentorship, these are some principles I hold dearly in mentorship, that people should be empowered to come up with their own solutions. Don't fix people's problems in a mentoring relationship, but empower them to come up with their own solutions, because people have greater commitment to something they have shaped themselves more than what you shape for them. People need both support and challenge. Don't just support them and encourage them, but also challenge them so that they can make it better, do better. Mentoring fits well with a shared leadership approach. So if there's, and shared leadership is where you appreciate that the other person has something to offer, even as you have something to walk them through, to support them in, that each of you is committed into the relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to the close of my talk and what I wanted to share with you on mentoring. And once again, I want to make the clarion call: die empty. Make sure you mentor someone. Pass on what you know, that knowledge, the values, the skills, the experiences. Make sure you are passing them to somebody. So my question to you is, who are you pouring your life to? Who are you pouring your life to, so that you are emptying yourself to another person? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mary, for this wonderful presentation. I'm sure we've learned a lot from your presentation, especially the part where you said that mentorship has benefits, and also it also has pitfalls. So we are to learn from it also, and going through the challenges of mentorship, also just making sure that you actually make the mentorship work. So thank you so much. And the one thing that stuck out for me was your clarion call: die empty. For sure, we need to make sure we've passed down what we've learned to benefit others also. I'd like to ask QS Dan, Chair, if you have anything to add to the presentation before we go to our Q&A session.
I think it's come out very well. Mary did a very good job in terms of just bringing all the points in terms of what direction mentorship should take. So a really good presentation. I hope there were many people listening to this. Yeah, it's the right approach, and it's the way we would also wish to go in terms of, mentoring the young people.
Thank you so much, Chair. So I'd like to encourage you all to use the question and answer tab to ask your questions. Already we are answering them real time, and you can also post your comments in the chat. Before we take any questions from Mary, I would like to highlight some of the comments that have been mentioned by members of the association. One of them is from architect Boniface Omboto. He says, I think this is a great step. We need a lot of mentor-mentee relationships in the industry. It may be a step towards rebuilding the profession in the industry. And I really do believe so. Backstory, Boniface Omboto was amongst the first mentees who spoke to me about architecture about 10 years ago. And he was introduced to me by another mentor in a different profession. So you can see how these relationships work, and they span years, and they actually follow up to see where you have progressed to. There's another comment by, Vincent Joseph Okoth. He says he's a draftsman working towards being an architect. He says, thank you so much for the opportunity to be mentored. And I'd like to encourage everyone else to take advantage of the program AAK is offering. I've seen people from other professions also requesting for the same. Unfortunately, the program is for the professional members in AAK, but the principles span across professions. So make sure you utilize the concept of having a mentor and also being a mentor to someone. I can see, I can see more comments. Samuel saying, thanks for the wonderful presentation. We need to offload the content inside all of us, and that's actually a very good concept. Die empty. Jane also says, very informative, well done. I would like to request if there are any other questions to Mary, feel free to ask them in the Q&A tab. So maybe I can address this question to Mary. Question by Francis. He says, Okay, let me address this to QS Dan, since he mentioned it to QS Dan. QS Dan, you had mentioned that you have mentees who are afraid of being or seeking for mentorship, and that what could be the first step for a mentee to take when seeking for a mentor? How should these fears be addressed?
I think the first level and stage, we have a platform within AAK where we have, where the AAK in itself as the association and also through the chapters, they can build up and identify, once they build a base of mentors who can be connected to various people who want to be mentored, various mentees, it'll be an easier way. So I think the approach will be through the association of the chapters. That would be a better way, so that you're paired with the right sort of mentor. Yeah, that would be a better approach. But I also say that we don't live in ivory towers, because that's normally the fear that we are unapproachable. Myself, currently, I'm mentoring. Well, it could be 8 to 10 people, and what happens sometimes, they just call me to make a query. So it's not, sometimes it doesn't have to be physical, but it's related to project or a challenge they've found in the industry. So it can be, there's various ways it can take place. You just want to take courage and just approach somebody, and also through networking, you can ask, who can I connect to? So there's various ways that various mentees can get connected to mentors without fearing. I think in our profession, you don't need to fear. And for the simple reason that, even for the many years that I probably think I've been in the industry, I've not found any project that you find the same problems in other similar. There could be a few, but a lot of things, every project is a new challenge. So there's room for mentoring. Yeah.
Thank you so much, QS Dan. I can see there are no more other questions. Allow me to just read one more comment from another attendee. She says, this is Violet Riungu. She says, way to go, lovely session. Mentorship is a continuous conversation, and it fulfills both the mentee and the mentor. So I hope you have all gathered something from this, and it's gonna change your experience in mentorship from now on. I'd like to give an opportunity to all the speakers for today to give their final remarks, starting with our speaker for today, Mary Kamore. Welcome.
Thank you, Brenda, once more. I think my closing remarks would be our Creator, and that is our God, has given us enormous resources. He's blessed us with gifts and talents. He has also blessed us with knowledge. I always say even knowledge and understanding, we possibly wouldn't have it, own it, if he hadn't allowed us to access that knowledge. Let us share that. Let us share that. And also for those who want to be mentored, I want to encourage you, look up for people who can help you because they are there. Don't fear to approach someone and just ask them if they can be your mentor. I have done that. I did that when I was young, and that's how I came to appreciate mentorship. That just approach someone, make sure someone is walking with you, and also make sure that you're walking with someone. That way, we will be able to address our fears. And what QS Dan said earlier, that failure is not due to lack of resources, it is due to lack of mentorship. So we don't want to fail. We want to succeed by making sure that we tap into mentorship. We want to make sure that we live what we preach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Kamore, and thank you so much for the insight that you gave us in your presentation. I can see the questions are geared towards your presentation, which is wonderful. I'd like to ask QS Dan Kimoro if you can give us your closing remarks.
Thank you, Brenda. Mine, I think, is first of all to thank the association, Madam President, for this initiative. I think it's a very good initiative. Going forward, it's just to reaffirm that, as college, we're willing to help a lot of mentees so that they can understand the profession. You know, our profession has been evolving. And of course, now with the way technology has come, we'll all be learning something from each other. There's something we'll learn from the mentees, and also I'm sure there's something we're going to impact to the mentees as well. So we're keen, we're ready, and let's go for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Over to Madam President, AAK. Mugure Njendu, kindly give us your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Brenda. While Mary was speaking, I was taking down notes because Mary, you've given such insight into making the mentor-mentee relationship work. And I am so better informed because of your session to do better in my own mentorship relationships. And thank you for that. Really, I think from us as members of the association, I just want to appreciate the sort of depth of your presentation into this particular topic. I also want to thank the chair of the College of Fellows, one, of course, for taking the time to be with us today and really speak from a seasoned and respected point of view as a senior QS and chair of the college who has been in practice for many, many years. The voices of the fellows are very much appreciated, particularly in our industry that has experienced many challenges across the board. I think we will keep looking to the College of Fellows to be steering us along the way, and we hope to see more of these conversations happening, as well as really appreciating the Meet the Fellows campaign. We're getting better to know these names we have had in the industry out there, but never really known about their story and their history, and they're impacting us at all levels of the association. So thank you, Chair, to both you and the College of Fellows. We appreciate you. Brenda, also thank you. I know I'm doing a few thank yous, but I'm sure you'll also go through that. But for me, it's to thank my mentee for being my teacher as well along the way. Sometimes when I see her moderating sessions such as these, I think, okay, so I did a good job. So thank you, Brenda. And really for all the professionals who are on this particular session, taking your time to come and listen about mentorship means that you are invested in it already. So we look forward to you signing up to our mentor-mentee program. We have posted, I think, during the chat, a few links. Please do take the time and pay it forward. And as Mary said so eloquently, die empty. So asante sana.
Thank you so much. I'd like to take this chance to thank each and every one of our speakers who participated today. Thank you so much, QS Dan, Chair of the College of Fellows AAK, for giving us your insight. And thank you so much to Madam President also for being my mentor and also allowing us to come here and talk about our mentor-mentee relationship, as well as sharing our experience so that others can benefit from it. And once again, a very big thank you to Mary Kamore, our expert. Thank you for the lessons that you have dispatched today, and I hope all of us will now take the mantle and run with it towards making the profession better through mentorship. I'd like to also thank the AAK team with the CEO, Jacob, for running this webinar, making sure that we have all the resources that we need, and also each and every one of the audience members who have at least, been with us throughout the whole way, have asked their questions, given comments, shared on social media. We are appreciative of every single one of you. I'd like to just say that young students and graduates, make sure you look out for and seek guidance from those around you in your workplace, even in school, on site where you go to. Also for professionals, make sure you reach out to those who are willing to learn from you. Make sure you disseminate the skills that you have learned over the years. You're never too young to be a mentor, and you're never too experienced to be a mentee. Finally, make sure you register for the AAK program, AAK program on mentorship if you haven't. The links are available, and if you have any other questions about it, just feel free to contact the AAK. So thank you so much to everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, and good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to all.
And well done, Brenda. As a mentee, you've moderated very well.
Thank you. Thank you.